Greetings. How's everybody today? This is David from Texas coming back at you again. And this will be our fifth video in this series that I'm filming for you. And this is basically we're about the mass awakening that's going on right now across the country. And we had started out with the first video about spell work because that's a tool that's being used to wake people up. And I know that uh, circumstances are being made some kind of way where you're going to wind up, if you're not coming around, you're going to wind up getting some spell work, or you can get something sent to you to wake you up. And we talked about that in the other videos, and you can look that up if you're interested in it. But anyway, what the deal is so we talked about spell work, that they're using spell work to wake you up. We talked about how can you detect it. You can either hire a psychic medium, a session with a psychic medium to do a reading for you. You can or you can buy a pendulum and you can check it your own self. Or if you got a friend that's got a pendulum, you can have them do it for you. So we talked about pendulums, what they are, what they cost, where to get them in the next video. I think in the third video or second video, I guess, where to buy them, and books that you can use to teach you how to operate them. We talked about all of that, and then we talked about in the third video about how to operate them, and I gave everybody some words to use with your pendulum, how to use it, and how to we call it healings when we use a pendulum is what I call it, and how to use it to send back any spells that you may be receiving, or curses or something like that that could be, to get you some relief, because until you figure out what you're going to do. So if this is happening to you and you are um, uh, going through or you're supposed to be going through an awakening, and and but you're not on your path, you don't know anything about it, like myself, I didn't know anything about it, and I had no clue about any of it because I was just out there working in my shop, minding my own business, and then a series of things started happening to me to get me to get on this path of this awakening, which is where I'm at right now. And so I think a whole group is waking up right now, and I'm not sure how that works. I don't know that much about it. I think that what's going to happen is it's going to be like groups, is what it looks like. Maybe every year there's going to be a group, but it's happening from starting in 2020, and it's going to go through 2050. And by 2050, it's going to be, they should have it all done, and all the people on the planet should be uh, awake by then. And if you don't know what that term means, you can Google it and you can find out uh, what it means. And it's basically a higher consciousness. The planet has raised the consciousness many, many times, when from the caveman days all the way up, every so often the consciousness is raised. And that's what's going on right now. And there's a lot of reasons why it's going on right now. And there's there is a true battle that that's going on right now between the dark and the light, and people that's not even a part of their life. I know they're just like, what? I said, well, that's true, because I really wasn't that aware of it, but that's a true fact. And everybody's heard about it. You've heard about it. Everybody's heard about it. And so the dark has been in control. The dark side has been in control uh, for a long time, but it looks like the light is taking that control back now. and things are going to change, and it's not going to continue to operate like it's been right now. We're in a major reset right now. And if you look around and you just look at what's going on the planet right now, and you look at what's going on with our government and all of our, I live in Texas, and so you look at what's going on in Texas, you look at what's going on uh, up in the White House, and you look at what's going on in the Supreme Court, and you look at everything that's going on right now in our government, and you look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Gaza, and it's just if you look at it deep, and you look kind of can rise above it and look at the overall picture, you might notice that there's something going on. And what it is it's a reset. Everything is getting turned upside down right now. And what I believe it is I believe that we're getting all of the problems and all of the bugs and all of the uh, people and things that are causing problems in all of these countries. And we're doing a reset. They're going to get uh, a light's going to be put on all these individuals, and they'll eventually get changed out. The people that need to be changed out. And I'm not calling any names or anything, but uh, time will show what I'm talking about right now. Is that there's going to be some changes, and what's going on right now is all of this stuff is getting a spotlight put on it. All of this corruption and uh, not just in the government but everywhere. This money, this dark money that's coming in and funding all this stuff. There's so much stuff going on that I wasn't aware of. I know you probably weren't either. All the stuff that's going on right now, and that these people were doing that just who knew that was going on with our elites or whatever, that are buying our governments and buying their politicians and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all going to come to a change. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time, but that's the direction that we're headed right now. And so what I'm here to talk about is what happened to me along my journey, and I think that this might resonate with some of you folks out there. I've been kind of guided to share my experience because my experience is pretty bizarre, and you may have a hard time believing it that this is really a true story. And I'm going to tell you the truth that the truth is always stranger than fiction. And I have been through some changes, let me tell you, and it's hard to even believe. I really can't even get it all straight in my head right now. And so it all came about with me back at around. Well, before I get started, first thing I want to say is, am I the only one that bought one of these $20 mics from Amazon that that you can't hardly hear? I see people getting complaints all the time about not being able to hear. I don't know if you can hear this one or not, but I've been working with it. I'm trying to get it better, and I know one thing: if you clip this thing on your collar where you're supposed to, you sure cannot hear it at all. So I took a 56 TIG welding rod right here and just bent it into a circle and made a little clip on where I can take this off and on, and made this little holder for it. So I hope that's all best I could come up with in 5 minutes. So anyway, I hope you can hear it. And if you're having problems, if you've got one of these and you're having problems, you can get a coat hanger or something and make you a holder for it, because if you put it on your collar, people cannot hear you. Back in 2015, I was working on a metal building, and I was in the steel building business and just general welding, fabricating steel buildings, metal buildings, and all types of steel fabrication, welding and fitting and all that kind of stuff. And we were a buddy of mine, a partner of mine, a guy that worked for me, and I were working on a project, and we were doing an addition to a horse barn. It was a great, big, beautiful building, and a big steel building that had horses in it, and we were doing an addition to it. It was like a drive-through that you could drive your truck and trailer through and unload your horses under a roof. You know, if you're going, like in Texas, there's a lot of horse shows going on around here, and people have to unload and stuff, and they come in and it's raining and they don't want to unload their horses and all their tack and stuff and their show clothes and saddles and stuff in the rain. So I was building a cover that these people could drive through and unload their stuff. And anyway, we were winding down on that project, and we had the roof on it and everything. We were pretty much done. We just had the trim left to put on it and a few small pieces to put on it. And we had built a scaffold at the out of the edge of the building, and two sections of scaffold. So that's with the wheels and stuff on the scaffold. That was up about each of those scaffolds are 6 foot, so it's about 6.5 foot by so it'd be about 12.5 feet to the floor of it at the top that we were stepping on. We were standing on about 12.5 feet, and then stepping off that onto the roof. And so that's how we were getting up and down off the building. We had a forklift at the end, and we were raising materials up and down on. And you can jump on that forklift and ride that up and down because we had a safety basket on it that you could get and ride it up and down. But we were using the scaffold that day. It was quicker. We could run up and down that scaffold and get stuff. 12 foot's not that bad. And generally that's where you tie on at, is at about 12 foot, where you put some kind of a safety harness or something on coming up and down that height. And we didn't have anything on. And we were right on the line of what, it's kind of a red line right there. And so anyway, we had the whole roof on. We've been climbing up and down the scaffold all day long, and we were wrapping it up right at the end. Just had the build. It was built, and it had the roof on it, and we just were putting flashing on it. And I hopped off the roof onto the top of the scaffold, and it was like somebody took a giant hand and just went wham and slapped that scaffold right out from under me. And I fell off, went straight off, straight down. And I don't know how I landed. I really don't know, because my whole side was black. And um, I wound up my buddy helped me get out of the pen. There was a little young stallion in that pen that was kind of interested in why was I laying down in his corral. The ground, it was dirt, but it was really hard. It was compacted, and it was really hard. And so my buddy helped me get out of the pen, and I was on kind of sitting on a trailer I had there, a trailer, that equipment trailer, and I was trying to catch my breath. I could not get my breath, and trying to breathe. And he uh, uh, he called my wife. I didn't even know, because I couldn't even really think what was going on. I had blanked out. I had knocked me. I was out cold when I hit the ground, and then I came to. So things were kind of cloudy. And next thing I know, I'm on the trailer, and I remember that. And then I remember all of a sudden, a lot of people started showing up. My wife showed up, and a lady that worked with her and her husband showed up, and then the ambulance came in there. And so they, I remember them giving me a shot, and then that was an air conditioner that just cut on outside. So I remember them giving me a shot, and the next thing I know, I woke up in an emergency room in a hospital in Austin, Texas, and the doctor had come in and told me that I had broken my back and I had a bunch of broken ribs, and asked me if I wanted to have a surgery to try to repair it. You have to agree to stuff like that. I didn't know that I thought they just automatically do it, but they don't. They don't. You got to sign for it, or somebody's got to sign for it. And so I agreed to have the surgery, and they took me in the surgery, and I was on my stomach laying down, and they did the surgery. It took quite a while, and I had a rib was sticking in my left lung, and that lung was punctured, and that's why I couldn't breathe. It's because that lung was collapsed, and then my right lung was filling up with blood, and so they were under a time crunch because that lung was filling up with blood, and I just wasn't going to be able to breathe at all. And so they were trying to get a bunch of titanium rods and stuff put in my back to screw my spine back together because I had blown out my T5 completely, and T4 and 6 were sitting against each other, and T5 wasn't even there anymore. I don't even know where it went. And so anyway, I was in pretty bad shape. I had 17 ribs that were broken, and some of them were broken in several different places, like 3 or 4 places. My sternum was broken, and I don't know what this bone is up around the top that was broken. And so anyway, I was in pretty bad shape, and uh, they had to end the surgery early, and uh, they my with that I wasn't going to be able to breathe, so they had to end the surgery early. So they were unable to do any kind of repair on any ribs, and then they did as good a job as they could on the spine, putting those rods in there, and that was it. And so I was woke up, and after that was over with, and I had this feeling, I kept having this feeling that everything was going to be all right. Like somebody was telling me, everything's going to be all right. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I just had this overwhelming feeling. I told my wife that, and she's just like, man, you're on a morphine drip. You, you are, you're not used to that stuff, and that stuff has got you loopy. And I said, okay, well, whatever. I think it's going to be okay. And so, anyway, went through all of that. Well, if you go through something like that, you don't stay in a hospital very long. Once they do what they can do for you, you got to go. And they say you ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. And so I had to get out of there, and I was still so messed up that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. Anybody out there's ever broke their back, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can't move. There's not much you can do. So my wife got me checked into a rehab hospital there in Austin that I stayed for a few weeks and went through a rehab program just where I could, get around and stuff. And then I came home and stayed here and rehabbed for about 6 months. And then I went back to work doing the same old stuff again. And stuck with that metal building and welding and fabrication business till about 2020, and for about 5 more years, and did some pretty good sized projects in that 5 years, and finally hung it up in 2020 because we just couldn't get steel anymore. Uh, I know everybody's wondering, well, what's this got to do with an awakening? Well, I'm gonna get to it. Okay, so we just couldn't get steel anymore. The price of steel was gone crazy, and at any price you just couldn't get it. And I had several projects half finished, and we were hauling equipment all over the place, forklifts and stuff all over the place, and people, and trying to get work finished. And I just couldn't, having a hard time getting anything finished. And you start moving people around, start moving equipment around from job to job, and get ready to lose a bunch of money real quick because you're not going to make any money going up and down the highway. We were just trying to get them finished. We finally got everything finished, and I got to where I really didn't even want to bid a building anymore because my suppliers told me, so, well, we can get this and this, and then in such an amount of time we might be able to get the rest of it. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I had already built a few custom cars of my own that I was showing, and had a ball doing it, and was having fun going to car shows and stuff. And so I told my main helper, I said, man, let's just go to the shop and let's just start working on cars, because a long time ago, way back in the 70s, I had owned a Goodyear car care center, and we worked on a lot of cars. So I was well acquainted with how to work on cars and build cars and stuff like that. And so that's what we did. We came to the shop. It was no time. We had that shop full of vehicles to work on, mostly old cars, either restorations or not a lot of restorations, but a lot of what they call resto mods, where you put new motors and stuff in old cars and paint them and fix them up and that kind of stuff. And I really loved it. It was a lot of fun doing that kind of work. And so that 5 years went by pretty quick, and I'm working in a lot of pain and stuff. And I'm not really thinking anything about it because um, that stuff happens, right? It was kind of unusual how that scaffold, we'd been up and down that scaffold all day long, and all of a sudden at once it just shot out from under me, and I was the only one on it. And before, my partner had been on there with me every time. This time he went down on the scaffold. I mean, he went down the forklift. When he went down the forklift and I went down the scaffold by myself, it's when that scaffold shot out from under me. And later on, we found out what happened. We had uh, uh, we, we we had some things happen, and we figured out what it was. So came back to the shop, started working in the shop, and doing those cars and all that kind of stuff. And we did that pretty good up until about 2023. We started really having problems in the shop. Had a hard time getting jobs finished and getting them out the door. And by 2024, we were really having problems. I mean, materials that we would spray primer on something, that come back the next morning, the primer would be all cracked up, or we would we, those old cars have carburetors on them, and we'd rebuild a carburetor, and it'd work fine for a few minutes, then it'd quit working, and we had some kind of an energy. Something was going on there that was paranormal, and we were just like, "What in the hell is going on?" My partner had already quit. I was there by myself, and I'm trying to figure out what in the hell is going on here. Something is happening, and it got kind of weird, and I knew something was happening, that it wasn't just normal, and it took a while, but then I started watching it and paying attention to it, and it really started getting weird, and it got to where anything that I would focus on would just be broken or stop working, or if I was working on a car, I'd struggle, and just on and on and on, and just couldn't get them out the door. And it was just they were fighting back, and that's not unusual for old cars to fight back when you work on them. They'll usually fight back a little bit, then they'll settle in. You can go ahead and get them done and get them out the door. Pretty normal on any car, anything you work on. Anybody that's ever worked on cars before understands that 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 they'll usually settle down, and that you can usually get just about anything done to them you want to do. These were just It was just crazy. It was crazy. Everything was going. My forklift, my lawnmower, my riding lawnmower, everything. I mean, I had a great big zero turn riding lawnmower, and that was in excellent condition because we take really good care of our stuff. And then we blew a seal on it, and then I fixed the seal, turned around out there, went around, didn't mow for about a half an hour, and blew the motor up. Motor blew up. Like, what in the hell is going on? What is wrong? There ain't nothing wrong with this motor. How did this motor blow up? And we have a lot of water lines here. We've got a lot of trees and stuff around here that we water, and we had water lines, underground water lines, start leaking, and unaware of it. I had a guy that was doing some work in my pasture, and he came over and said, "Hey, man, you got a water leak here?" I didn't even know about it, and I went and looked. I got a bill from Rural Water that was $700, and we fixed it. And then right after that, we had another one right behind it. It was $500. It's kind of expensive to get a water leak out here. If it happens on rural water, if it happens on a well, it's not so bad. But if it happens on that rural water, that's really expensive. And then I fixed those two, and then right after that, I had two more, and it just seemed like it'd get on something, and it just would keep going and going and going. I'd get one fixed, and another one would pop up, and so that's when we figured out something was going on. So we had been using that pendulum. I made those videos on that pendulum, and we started asking that pendulum, what in the hell is going on? Well, I tried to use the pendulum to diagnose with what was going on with the cars, and I kept asking that pendulum, what's going on? Is it the carburetor? Is it this? Is it that? And I was getting crazy answers on that thing. I was like, what? Why is this not working on this car? It should be working on this car. I was getting crazy answers on that. But I finally did find out that I finally asked it. Some of Raymond Grace is somebody I talked about earlier in the earlier videos. He has a checklist that you go down. One of the things that you ask is about curses or spells is one of the checklists that you go down the line, and just off that checklist, I just ask, am I receiving any curses or spells or anything? And I got a big yes. And and I kept working with it, and I said, well, when did this start? And I found out that way back in 2010, or it's 2010 or 2011, that I had started receiving spell work. I didn't even know it, and I guess it wasn't that bad at first, but it got worse. And I kept asking how many people were doing it, and I got up to like 5 or 6 people were doing it at the time that I had that accident back in 2015. So you get a bunch of people. It was a coven of witches, if you know what that is. I don't really know what that is. I think it's a group, I guess more than one. A coven. What does a coven mean? But anyway, uh, down in Houston, were somehow or another were, from what I hear, were manifesting money off of my energy. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really can't explain to you how that works, but it works. It works. And somehow or another, they were sending spells to me, stealing my energy because I was so tired. I would walk out of my shop, and it was like walking through water. That it was just like stale, negative energy in there, where you couldn't even didn't even want to be out there anymore. I'd walk out there, and I'd sit down and sit on a stool and not want to do anything. And I started I started watching. Well, I always played music out there all the time. We always borrowed it from YouTube, and so if you know how that goes, you got to keep your device, whatever you're using. I had an iPad out there. You got to keep it pretty close because you get a lot of advertisements up. If you're not too far away, you can just go hit it, and your music will keep playing. So we started doing that, and I was listening to my music, and I started listening to a guy that was coming on there, started popping up on my feed by the name of Lee Harris Energy. And that was really interesting information. And because I had some really weird stuff happening, and that was pretty interesting. And I was kind of thinking, he started talking about his guides and stuff like that. And he could hear his guides, and he could talk to his guides, he could communicate with them. And he had a group of some kind of energy called the Z's, and there was like a collective of energy that could channel through him. That he closed his eyes and he would speak for them in a higher consciousness. And it was really enlightening and really interesting. And let me tell you something, I was hungry for trying to figure out what to do with this. And they were talking about their guides and stuff. And I said, I really need to talk to my guides. If there's any way possible I could contact my guides, that's what I really need to do. And so I started working at that, and because I needed to get some answers. Where I live, I'm in a rural area, and there's not really anybody I can go see that's close. I, could go to Houston or Austin or San Antonio or somewhere and make an appointment with a psychic medium or something. But I found a lady on YouTube that was using a pendulum to contact her guides, and she was talking to her guides through that pendulum. She had already found out their name. There's a guy, found out his name and everything. She was talking to him, and she had a pretty good relationship with her guide using that pendulum, and she was getting all kind of help and questions answered and all kind of stuff like that. And that's when I first got interested in pendulums. It's when I saw that. I said, well, she can do it, I can do it. So I went and bought me one. And it did work. It did work. And so I was able to get yes and no answers pretty quick. Didn't take too long. And I bought one. I think I paid $15 for it up in Austin, and brought it home, and uh, started using it, started getting answers from it. And that's when I started. It took a while, it takes a little while to start getting yes, no answers, but not long. And you have to kind of trick it a little bit to find out about if make sure there's this thing called trickster energies that'll come in and kind of try to take that thing over. And and it's not always making contact with your guides, because other energies can come in and take it over. And so I had to work through that and figure out what to do about that. And that's on the previous videos, is how to deal with that. And so anyway, that's what I did to find out about what was going on, and to find out that yes, I've been receiving spell work since around 2010, and yes, there was some type of energy did interfere with that scaffold that caused that accident. And I asked a lot of questions about that. Was that directly caused by and I got yes, this energy definitely caused that to happen. Slap that scaffold out from under you. So they're not playing. You know what I'm saying? They're not playing. This was a major deal for me. It was really a tough deal for me. I mean, I still have problems from that today. There's still a lot of problems from that. And so they're not playing. Later, I found out that all that happened because of the spiritual awakening. To wake up, I had my soul prior to incarnating on this planet had agreed to do a job here at this time, uh, to to help out with this spiritual awakening that's going on. And I have a job here to do, and I didn't know anything about it, but that's was what was going on. So apparently, I'd been getting uh, some kind of spell work that I was ignoring and not paying attention to, until it finally got so bad that I had to stop and deal with it. And that's what happens. And that's why I'm trying to do this series of videos, because if something has happening to you, to try to get your attention, trying to wake you up, I'm trying to help you get the jump on it, so that you don't have to go through the same stuff that I've been through. And I'm pretty resilient, and I've always been pretty tough about that kind of stuff, and just ignore it like everybody else. Oh, hell, that just happens, It's just an accident. And until I found out later, otherwise. And so they're serious. They're dead serious. If you have a job that you're supposed to do here, they will stay after you, and you will wind up doing that job. It's not optional. Like I said in the first video, I didn't raise my hand and volunteer to do this. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And I've forgiven it all. I have forgiven it all, because I understand it now. And I can't really personally remember exactly what could have been going on from 2020 to, from 2010 to 2015. What did I miss? I wish I'd have known what I missed, so that I didn't have to go through that major deal I went through. And I'm hoping that if anybody's out there that's having some stuff happen to them that seems unusual, that you'll get you a pendulum and check on it real quick before it escalates to the point that I let mine go to. So that's pretty much about what this series of videos is about. And I'm going to take you all the way through my whole story. I know there's a lot of people interested in it, and we're going to talk about it. And it's going to get really wild. That's just what I told you today is just like the very, very early beginnings of it. And this really hadn't even got to the interesting part yet because it gets crazy and crazier and crazier. And I think that you're going to have fun with it, listening to the story. But I'm about out of time today, and I just wanted to get you started with that part so that you've got some background on what happened to me and on my journey, and that please, if you notice that something is unusual happening to you, please take care of it early. Take care of it now. Go get a psychic medium to look at it for you, and uh, make sure that you're not getting spell work. But if you are, that's what it is, and then you can get to the bottom of it real quick, and you can get on the program, and then you can pretty much stop it from escalating into something that like what happened to me. And so, okay, that's it. That's as far as I'm going to take you today. And I thank you so much. If you're sitting here listening to this story and you're still here, I thank you so much for your time. And I'll have another one out tomorrow. And if you're interested, you can keep going with me. Have a good day.